Get rid of yourself, Boshy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bahrain Endurance Facebook and YouTube as we come up to just about the 6-hour mark of the trio battle. Jan Frodeno, obviously, of the Bahrain Endurance team, is absolutely flying in Allgäu in Germany, despite the wet conditions. My name is Will McCloy. Alongside me, Chris McCormack, 4-time world champion, twice Ironman world champion, and he knows exactly what it takes. You know what? He doesn't know what it takes to go at these speeds because these speeds have never been done before, Macca. What are your thoughts on this race so far? Because it's been wet, it has been terrible conditions, and yet we're about to see a new world record by Jan Frodeno breaking his own mark of 7:35.
It's been a great day. I think we've all been looking forward to the race. I woke up, you realise how long one of these Ironmans are to watch. I must admit, I tuned in I tuned in and watched the start. It was a good buzz. I was expecting bad conditions. Germany's been flogged by rains in the last couple of days, big floods, and just tracking that weather conditions. So I knew it was going to be wet, but German roads are super fast, and this course was designed to be ridiculously quick. The multi-loops with the electric cars, the swim course with no turns. It was designed to be fast. So we're doing the same in the sub-7, sub-8 side, but this is a brilliant course, and it was really built for Jan. And we saw from that literally the first swim stroke, he was ready to rock and roll, and has been setting a tempo that's just slowly moving away from Lionel Sanders since that first stroke of the swim.
Yes, it's the first 20 metres when he took control. Obviously, if you guys haven't been watching it at all, obviously it's on at try-battle.com. We're going to be running the live stream here in just a second as well. So we're going to be calling the last bit of the race. But from the very beginning, Jan took control. We knew he would do that. Lionel Sanders said he wanted less than a 3-minute gap out of the water. He didn't get that, despite the fact that he had a 50:58 swim, which is 90 seconds faster than Lionel's ever swum. He was still 5 minutes back. And then on the bike, we thought we were going to see him come back. He came back to about a 4:15 gap for a while, and then it just blew straight out again to 5 minutes. It was longer than that for a bit. And then now it's currently sitting at 11 minutes. And so he was 5 minutes quicker on the swim, was Jan Frodeno, and then he was 5 minutes quicker on the bike, and he continues to push his way to what will likely be a sub-7:30 time. And he's just looked supreme throughout, hasn't he? It's just been – he hasn't looked worried. He's looked calm the whole way. He looked a couple of times up out of the saddle. One thing that did happen is he had a big slip at 10Ks. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. He had a slip on the run. That was the one kink. He dropped his helmet. Out of swim to bike transition, he dropped his helmet. And here's the slip as he came around that corner finishing that lap.
Yep.
Boom. I think.
Now, what does that do for you? Because obviously, people fall over and they get up. But obviously, if you're 6 hours into something and you're in a pace, you're in a mindset, and then suddenly something like that happens. And I always remember that famous marathon where the guy was running and then someone came out of the crowd and grabbed onto him and pushed him for a bit, and then he couldn't get back into the rhythm. And what does that do for you mentally when suddenly that pulls you out of the zone and then you've got to get back in? How quickly you've got to get back into it?
Yeah, look, he sort of went down. He looked like he limped as he came out. It's more a shock than anything. I think you got so much adrenaline running through you, but yeah, and he found his form and rhythm back again. But it does give you a bit of a shock. You're like, oh, geez, I wasn't really anticipating that. And but he's so lean, Jan, right? So landing on his hips, it can hit.
He hasn't got hips.
He doesn't have hips. Yeah, landing on his side. But look, he's. Since the beginning, Jan Frodeno only races when he's ready. He has looked magnificent. He looks marvelous on the run. He reminds me, we were talking about it before we went on screen. He reminds me, he's very tall, like Peter Reid was, the old Canadian that won Kona 3 times as well. But he has such a long stride for a marathon runner, which is beautiful running, and he stands so upright. His bike's marvelous. Like, you can't fault the guy. I was expecting Lionel to make a little bit of inroads on that early section of the bike. He said he was going to move through transition well, which he did do. He swam magnificent, Lionel Sanders. Like at 5 minutes, we all anticipated 5 minutes was a great swim, and he was literally exactly 5 minutes behind Jan Frodeno out of that water. But as Jan is showing race and race again, his bike is continuing to become a big weapon. Everyone sees Jan Frodeno as a perfect athlete across the 3 disciplines, but I believe he's the best biker in the sport. I know Cameron Worth's probably watching thinking, I throw my hat in the ring on that, but there is nothing that Jan Frodeno, there's nothing that anyone out there is doing that Jan Frodeno can't match. And We saw Lionel make some early inroads, but that was shut down very, very quickly by Jan, and he looked very, very comfortable and consistent throughout the whole bike. And he set up this marathon, and looking at him now on screen, he is motoring. Like, he is well under 240 marathon pace. He's well under his record here. I think he wants to get under that 7:30 mark. It's sort of this mystical mark that everyone's talked about for many years if conditions were perfect. And they've nailed the perfect course and set this up for, even though the conditions weren't perfect, for fast racing. He will duck under 7:30.
Yeah, you'd think so. He's certainly on the way to doing that. Thanks, everyone, for already jumping on the stream. We've only been going for a few minutes. We've got a ton of comments in. Already people correcting me. Oh, Brad, thanks. Yeah, it was the Athens Olympics Marathon. That's exactly right. Maurice, go, mate. Oh, and Buchek's here as well. And Alistair is about to join the chat. Alistair Brownlee turns up exactly when Alistair Brownlee wants to turn up, and he's turned up, and here he is. There he is, the great man.
Hi.
You're only 6 minutes late, buddy. That's good to see you, buddy.
I've been backstage for at least 4 minutes.
Yeah, you're where Lionel was at the start of after the swim. You're 6 minutes back.
How are you, Alistair? Have you been following along, mate? It's been an interesting one. Obviously, there's been some headwinds in terms of, actual headwinds. There's been some fog, some rain, some wind, and yet we're seeing Jan Frodeno putting down a brutal pace.
Yeah, I must admit, I've literally just come off my bike myself. It's really hot here today, so I'm still sweating a bit. And I was kind of following as I was riding around. I've just done a really long, like 130k right up into the Dales. It's a gorgeous day here, amazing conditions. And I was kind of following along where I could and where I had signal and where I could look at my phone. So, yeah, I know Jan's obviously flying. He's on for a really quick time. Just caught it there as he's just going through 21k on the run and looking good.
I just
How far
saw
behind is Lionel now? That's
I want to say 11, more than 11 minutes.
Yeah,
so he was 11 minutes, just about 10 minutes ago. We're going to get the live stream back in so we can watch along as we do. But yeah, I think he was. If we have a look back at the splits, if you haven't seen it, it was a 45.58 swim from Jan, and he backed that up with a 3:55.22 on the bike. So put that. I mean, his best performance before that was 4:08. So he's a solid 13 minutes quicker on the bike than he's ever been before, and obviously 3:55 is uncharted territory. And then he added a 2:12 for the total transition. So he left T2 at 4:43.32. Now, Lionel swam a PB in the swim, 50.58. That's 5 minutes slower. And then he was exactly 5 minutes slower on the bike as well. Picked up a little bit of time in transition and left about 9.5 minutes behind out of T2. And then now he's 11 plus. So just looking right now at the half marathon point of the run, Frodeno's running a 3:45 kilometre average. We're going to see it on the screen right now. Sanders running a 3:49 average, and he's 10.5 minutes behind. The world record pace is, so Jan is currently 3.6 kilometres ahead of what the world record pace is. So he's on for a sub 7:30 here, and that is despite having a slip and fall on the black carpet because it's so wet there. And when I saw that happen, I looked down at the comments. I was watching along on Lionel's YouTube channel, and the first comment I saw that said, Alistair Brownlee definitely pulled that carpet out from underneath him. So you're in the conversation, mate. And seeing this, and I know you're doing sub 7, sub 8 coming up next year, it must just continue to light the fire for it.
Yeah, I think it does. I think in a few ways, I think firstly seeing, these incredible performances, that inspires all of us. That's why we're here talking about it as an athlete. It inspires me to see how fast I can go and how well I can do it, push everything I can, get those technological advantages, train as hard as I can to produce the perfect performance. And I also think as from the fan point of view and me like being a fan and enjoying watching it, I just think these full match racing, where you can get really good in-depth detail of the guys racing, whether it's speed and heart rate now and looking at power and heart rate on the bike, just comparing those metrics, like a really kind of in-depth dive of into the coverage. I think that's brilliant. And I think it's a really good format, like the boxing-esque kind of one-on-one match competition where we can, really kind of spectate, but also be deep into the information. I think is brilliant.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the tri geeks out there are getting the full whack of data, and Jan over the last 12 months has been a little bit more open with his data, whereas Lionel's open about everything all the time. And what do you think of? I mean, as an athlete, obviously he looks supreme there, and we can see Jan just doing what he does, and you can see the projected totals down there. Now, it's hard to see, but at the moment they're projecting a 7:21.50 for Frodeno and a 7:31.58 for Sanders, and that's obviously nearly 14 minutes faster than he's done it or anyone has ever done it, which really throws the gauntlet down to you, Alistair, and to Christian Blumenfeld as well when we do it again next year, and just to everyone in the Ironman world. But let's talk about Sanders. We've barely seen him. This has been the Jan victory lap, and because there hasn't been the helicopter hasn't been in the air. There's obviously not a moto near Lionel. We've barely seen him, but to turn around, and I know we spoke about this, Alistair, before. To turn around from what happened to him in Coeur d'Alene and then basically probably put down what would have been the world record yesterday, but will no longer be. It's pretty impressive. Macca, first of all, I'll talk to you about it, because Lionel he's great to watch because he just puts himself in such pain. He looks like he's limping. He's a hot mess on the run, but he's still running at 3:49 Ks.
Mate, the guy's an animal. Like he's really look. The thing about Ironman racing, once you get to this top level of racing, everyone's solid and everyone's really, really strong, and it's a matter of he who slows down last wins, right? So, Lionel has that mindset that makes him very, very strong and solid over this distance. It doesn't necessarily correlate to the shorter distances where a little bit more speed and talent comes into play. But look, I think Lionel, you're coming up against a monster in Jan Frodeno. He's really refined his craft over the Ironman distance. He's really learned to pace these out, and you're dropping 7:20s. Like, he's on a 7:20 pace. That's remarkable racing speed. Like, I can't even imagine. And dropping sub 4 hour bike times, they're big bike splits in conditions like this. The course was set up. It's definitely a very, very fast course, but we haven't seen Lionel. So it's really been a solo attempt by Jan Frodeno. Lionel's sort of been back there and sort of been, I guess, someone to check off and see as you swap past those certain points on the course, you can see each other. But this has just been a calculated, attack of the distance by Jan Frodeno. He's used his numbers. He's used his pacing people around him, the cars coming up and giving him his splits, and just being able to monitor that speed. We've still got 20K to go. This is the business end, and we saw Lionel fall apart a couple of weeks ago. But I think Ali said this a couple of days ago when I watched an interview you did, Ali. You do, when you do an Ironman and you do walk the finish, you recover 2 days later. The marathon's what beats you up. So if you're not running your legs off over an Ironman and you are walking, you're sore after it and you've taken a mental bruising, but you can bounce back and be ready to race. And we're seeing that from Lionel today. He's definitely very, very fit, and he's going to drop the second fastest time of all time today.
We have the ability to take your questions and pop them up on screen as we go along. So please, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, get your questions in. I think we're going to take a question right now and pop up on the screen in just a second. And I think it's about, here we go. This is from John. Thanks, John. Does racing because they're at 700 meters altitude right now have any great effect on these guys? What are the average watts? Now, the average watts is hard because I think they've had some problem with timing and with data because of the weather, getting it back and forth. So I think we're running at about 300 to 310. What about altitude at 2,100 feet? Where they are in the Allgäu, does that make a big difference? Alistair, what do you think about that? Obviously, there's pros and cons to anything in any place you go. But, because it was a freshwater swim, so obviously it's a bit slower. But altitude, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, altitude has a massive effect on the air.
Oh, we've momentarily lost him. The great man.
What he was about to say.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah. So because the air pressure is lower, the resistance is less, and as your speed, the resistance goes up a squared relationship to your speed. So that has a massive effect, and it's a linear relationship between oxygen ability to absorb it to your blood and obviously the fact that there's the same amount of oxygen in the air but a less partial pressure, so absorbing it into your blood, which is why people train at altitude. It's like one's a positive and others a negative, and there's a perfect point somewhere on that spectrum depending actually how hard you're going. So people talk about it a lot, but when the Olympics were in Mexico City in '68, was it? Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, then they had big differences on different events where people thought actually kind of maybe 400 meters up to 400 or even 800 might have been quicker, where it's kind of less aerobic oxygen need. Once you go over that distance, it's a big disadvantage. And at different altitudes, that changes for what event you're doing. Ironman's quite, probably because it's not super high on kind of oxygen consumption, at 300 watts, that's not a massively high amount of watts for these guys. And so doing it at relative altitude is probably, the trade-off between your oxygen consumption and your air resistance is probably quite high, probably higher than most people would have thought, depending on the athlete and that exact how hard they're actually going. Yeah, and I would say actually the 700 meters is an advantage, and I would have thought actually going quite a bit higher, you've probably still got an overall advantage on the bike. The issue is on the swim, you've got no air resistance advantage, really. You've just got the disadvantage of the low oxygen level. And on the run, because you're going so much slower and you've got that squared relationship, your advantage, your air resistance advantage is minimal, and you've got the disadvantage of the less oxygen. So, yeah, it's a really interesting question of what the optimal conditions are. But I think certainly at 700 meters, it's a positive.
Yeah.
Look at him run. Oh, it's hard to watch. The great man.
I know, but it's surprisingly fast.
It's so fast. Yeah, it is. It is fast. It's it looks almost like he's limping along, and yet he's running sub 350s, and they're basically running the same speed just about on average across the course of the first half marathon. Another question is coming in. I can just see that. Where is sub 7 going to be? Now that, oh, hang on, we haven't got to that one yet. No, I'll put the question back up, whatever the one it was. But I'll ask a question about sub 7. But where obviously this is a question that we're still discussing, and Macca, you're more in the know than anybody. But there's a few places that are still on the radar. I know you can't tell us exactly, but it's an ongoing discussion. We should hear very soon.
Yeah, there's a few places we're taking into consideration, obviously, what the athletes are telling us and the time of year, and watching this has been great to watch this race. Look, it's obviously road surface has a lot to do with moving quickly, and these German roads are magnificent, right? So you're always going fast in Germany. Conditions are important, weather conditions. I know Ali and the guys don't want to be cold, so a little bit warmer is always nice, but look, as I think Alistair said it perfectly, and just to touch on that altitude thing, coming back, I remember the Australian Institute of Sport down here in Canberra is set at 1,000 metres altitude, about 900 metres Canberra, and there was a lot of talk with the cycling team being based there on the velodrome exactly around what Alistair said, and they believed that altitude between 750 and 1,100 metres, there was enough oxygen concentration within the air that didn't come to still get the power out, but that they could get the quicker times because of the lack of air pressure. So that 750 meters is a nice altitude. So I think that's been beneficial to the quick bike times. But that being said, there's a lot of moisture in the air, so that could also slow up the bike time. So it's just been
I think it hasn't been said, but these damp conditions are pretty good. You actually don't want it raining, but you want really humid air. And so quite often, like the old school time trial thing is doing it just after it's rained. So you've got really kind of humid air there. And that's when you get the lowest air resistance. So, obviously rain isn't good because there's too, but like wet, humid air is the fastest air. And that's why, it might have actually been a bit of an advantage today.
Perfect.
What about this one? Like Lionel, this is from Jenna. Lionel will bring the most media attention, but should Jan have chosen someone that would have been closer to him in the race on the swim and the bike? Or would he not want that pressure? And it's funny because, they've been running grabs of the two of them talking about each other, and they're like, to Lionel, what's Jan's weakness? And he said, well, Jan's weakness is that he hasn't felt pressure for the last 7 years. The last time that he had pressure, this is from Lionel saying, was 2014 70.3 Worlds, where Javier dropped him on the run. Is that should he have picked someone else? I mean, obviously Lionel brings a lot of attention because he's one of the guys with a big media following and everything, and that's probably a big part of why he's there. But should he have picked someone else for this? And if he should have, who should it have been, Macca?
I think, look, Jan, this is Jan's show. It was his idea, and he came on delivering. And I think he's going to pick someone that he knows he has his measure on. The difficult thing of having a match race is it's just two people. It is like two gladiators walking to a boxing ring. You don't come second, you lose. So it's a lot on the table. In a normal race, you can come second, third, fourth, and you can wobble your head and say I made the podium. And this is first or last, right? So Jan knew that. I think he's got Lionel's measure, and he knew that he could keep Lionel in control. Jan races as a semi-control freak. He likes to be at the front of the race. He likes to dictate terms. He likes to always be in the action. And look, Jenna's right. The only time, and I'm not pissing in your pocket, Alistair, the only time I've ever seen Jan Frodeno struggle was post those 2008 Olympics when you roared through in 2009 and put him under a lot of pressure. And he wasn't dealing with that as well as he was in the years before. And I think we haven't seen that in Ironman racing for him. He sort of stepped across, and he had Kienle's measure, and I guess Lionel Sanders has come along, and the only other athlete that really applied some pressure to him and dislodged him was Patrick Lange, who had the big runs, but in Kona. But he hasn't been able to do that in those races in Germany when they went head to head. Lange fell apart and had some issues, and Kienle pushed him one race in Germany as well. But other than that, Jan hasn't really been pushed heavily in an Ironman race, and that's testament to his ability, but it's also testament to the fact that a lot of the talent has been sitting around chasing Olympics and doing other things, and that talent will migrate up now post an Olympic cycle and start to learn that process of Ironman racing, and you'll see a lot more speed come into play now in Ironman racing.
Well, one of the men that's going to do that is sitting just in a box right below me, looking a bit nonplussed about the whole thing. How's your ankle, mate? Like, where are you at? Like, what are we going to see you on the Big Island this year?
Yeah, hopefully. The ankle's okay, thanks. I think it's doing as well as it possibly could. The surgeon said the operation was a success. I won't entirely know until I start running hard on it. But yeah, I feel really motivated. I feel good in myself. I've really enjoyed getting back and doing some training over the last few weeks. And it was really stressful, like 3 or 4 months over the last few months, the lead up to trying to race at Olympic distance again and throw everything at that. So I think it's been good just to have a bit of time to kind of chill out a bit but it is what I am and who I am and what I do. I'm looking forward to getting back and training hard, and hopefully for Kona I'm going to do my best, but at the same time for the the next 5 or 6 years of racing, I don't want to rush it too much this time. But yeah, the main thing is obviously my focus now is the long distance, and that ultimately is sub-7 next year, the Kona after that, and the big PTO races, and that I'd love to be there this year, but if not, it'll be next year.
When you look back at that last 3 or 4 months, and I remember interviewing you maybe a couple of weeks ago, and you're just like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Now you get a bit more space from it. Do you think it was the incorrect call to chase that, given all the stress that you put yourself under? And would you have done it the same if you go back 6 months? Would you have made the same decision to try and chase Tokyo?
A lot of days in those 3 months I regretted trying in the first place. But then, a friend reminded me that is the power of the Olympics, isn't it? And yeah, to say now and go, oh yeah, what an idiot for doing that. But ultimately I decided to do that because of the special place the Olympic holds in my heart, mind, motivation. And that's because I watched the Olympics and watched triathlon make its debut as a 12-year-old in the middle of the night and was fascinated by it then. And because of that, it motivated me as a 17-year-old to chase London when I heard that London got the games, and it motivated me after London to stay in the sport and do Rio. And so I couldn't have had one side of the coin without the other. And yeah, that is because the Olympics is that special.
Well, yeah, I think it was the right idea, mate, to continue to go after the games. But now the games is behind you. Now it's a focus on the shift in distance and learning this craft, and it'll be great to watch the progress. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Well, look, and I just noticed the other day that the beds in Tokyo are made of cardboard to try and stop people from spreading COVID to each other at night, because they only support the weight of one human. So it doesn't sound like a lot of fun, man. Sleeping on a cardboard bed.
Is that true?
No, 100%
yeah,
true.
that's true in Tokyo.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're made of cardboard, so one person. But if you get two people on there, it immediately collapses, which the Tokyo officials seem to think will stop the action, which it won't. I think I would continue. I don't think I'd be like, well, I'm just saying that there are other ways. There are ways and means. It's not going to stop me. It really depends. It really depends who else is there with you. Maybe you need an excuse to get out of it. But
there's a will, there's a way.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. What about this one? Annie Frederick has messaged in and said, do you think with the lack of racing dynamics, it's easier to quantify metrics for the fans, which is positive for growing the sport at the moment? Or is it always a balance because in many ways it lacks excitement? So I guess this goes back to man-on-man racing, which is something that we haven't seen enough of in this sport. And this is taking, to a whole different crew of people, right? And sub-7, sub-8 is the same, right? This is going to be a chase to defy the impossible, a chase to decide what is possible. Like this one's a world record attempt in the same way that this sub-7, sub-8 attempt is a chance to see what is possible for humans to do, I guess, under controlled conditions, and to see all of that data and to see how deep they're pushing and to relate that back to exactly how incredible it is. In the same way that Eliud Kipchoge's run when he ran that 42.2 in 1:59.40, he ran every 100 in 17 seconds, and that makes me understand how incredible that was. But you don't see that kind of data when you're watching a marathon, like any marathon, when there's everyone running. So bringing that kind of group in and bringing that metrics and quantifying it in, I think is really, really important. And we're going to see just what kind of shape you're actually in, Alistair. But to do this kind of thing and to bring that data in, and data's a big focus at sub-7, sub-8 as well, that's gonna be huge in terms of giving people insight into how incredible this sport is.
Yeah, I think so. I think sport is ultimately about stories, isn't it? It's about creating the story and the journey and the interest for the spectator and the fans and people watching it. And we all might sit here as massive fans of triathlon that we are, but an 8-hour race is an 8-hour race, and it's quite hard to keep people's attention and interest over 8 hours. I have these conversations, and Maka does all the time. People sit there and watch the Tour de France for 6 or 7 hours, and nothing happens for the first 5 hours, but we still watch it. So, sport has, or tennis or golf, etc., the last hours and hours. So sport is more than that, an interest, and I think that, and I watch it because I enjoy the stories. I'm fascinated to watch the Tour de France this afternoon because I think Mark Cavendish is going to make history, and the story of that is all the more special after what he's been for over the last 5 or 6 years. And I think during the event, I think data does a really good job of telling those stories and making people interested, and that's ultimately because people can relate to what the athletes are doing at the time. Like you said, you use that fact of saying every 100 run in 17 seconds, and you go, wow, like flipping hell, that's incredible. Or, on the bike, they've averaged 300 watts for 4 hours or 3 hours 55. And most people know, 300 watts, I can do that for 10 minutes, or I can do that for 20 minutes, or I can do it for a few hours, but to do it for 4 hours and then run off it. And it's just relatable. And I think firstly, that's the power of data, just a kind of soft interest thing. But I also think, secondly, as we get as I guess like users and consumers, as we get more used to seeing data, I think it will become more interesting, and we'll have a better ability to understand what's going on. Actually, we kind of know Lionel can do average 300 watts, and if you see him doing a surge at 320 watts, why is he doing that? How long can he do that for? Is he going to pay for that later? And I think it will just give us a much more detailed insight into what's going on.
We're just looking at the projected run totals, and they've come off a little bit. So it was 7:21 was the projected record about 5 or 6 Ks ago. It's now looking more like 7:25 for Jan, and it could be that Jan's going to own the fastest 2 times in the world at the end of this, because Lionel's about to drop below that 7:35.39. He's at 7:34.5. So there is the world record down the bottom, 7:35.39. I mean, with 15 Ks to go, and given the conditions, obviously it's cold. On the run, you said obviously on the bike it's not too bad. These kind of conditions, it's still definitely raining there. How much does that take out? How far away is that from the optimal for you, Ali? Because I know we've had discussions, off camera and back of house about sub 7, sub 8 and what you want, and raining and cold is not great.
Yeah, well, the ultimate marathon conditions are supposed to be 12 degrees. And there's quite a lot of, these big city marathons that have moved their time around to have those kind of conditions to get the fast times. And I think they wanted 12 or 13 degrees for the sub 2 project, Ineos 159. And that's really because once your body temperature starts going above kind of 37 for every half a degree, obviously anything you go above that, you're effectively lowering your VO2 max. So you want to make sure your body temperature is rising the least amount possible. So cold is an advantage on the run, 100%. And if I don't know what the air temperature is there, but if the air temperature is 20 degrees, the rain's an advantage almost certainly. You might lose a bit on slipping around on corners, but that's really insignificant compared to keeping your body cool. So I would definitely be enjoying the rainy conditions. I think, to be honest with you, Macca's done a lot more than me, but you'd expect people to slow down in the second half of the marathon. There's very few people who negative split an Ironman marathon.
Yeah, that's very true. Obviously, they're running that off their data from before. They're not projecting it based on what their, I think, calculated bankruptcy is going to be, and they'll be getting pretty close to bankrupt at this point of this attempt. The other thing is, and I think this is something that we haven't really talked about in this, but it shares something with sub 7, sub 8, is that they're chasing a time here. Lionel's chasing Jan, but Jan's chasing his own time, and he's chasing the world record. And it's the same mindset that we're going to have in sub 7, sub 8, because, and Macca alluded to this in the interview I did with him, actually, incidentally, in my garage 6 months ago because of COVID. You form your race, well, this is Macca saying this, around what's happening in the race. So there's ebbs and flows of the race. But when you're chasing a time, it's a completely different mindset. So you can't ease off. You can't look around at what everyone's doing. You can't choose your times to surge and break the rubber band and then have a gap and all that kind of stuff that you guys do on a regular basis. He's looking at a time now. He's waved goodbye to Lionel, and he's got 14.3 kilometres to go, and he's like, where am I? Where am I in this time? So how much different is that mindset? And Alistair, I guess for you, like, you're going to go head-to-head with Christian Blumenfeld. You might be ahead of him, but you've got a time that you're going to look at the fastest time in history. There's no easing off the pedal going, oh, well, I can just manage my race on the way in here. Every second counts.
Yeah, it is different. It's very different. You've got to get your pacing absolutely right, and I think that's probably why people commonly say that our record on the bike is the worst possible thing you can do, because you've got to go absolutely as hard as you can for an hour, and without letting off in any shape or form. And I think every endurance athlete probably understands that. I think for an Ironman, though, in some ways, you've got to go as hard as you can. I think once you're in the back half of the marathon, I think it's hard whatever you're doing. You ease off and it still hurts, or you're kind of going as fast as you can and it still hurts. I think both Jan and Lionel, maybe especially Jan, will approach this. He knows how fast he can swim. Once he's on the bike, I think he's probably got a pretty good idea of exactly the watts he wants to hold. And instead of being 10 watts over that or 50 watts over that to push and make a break and then going under it, and then I think he'll have held that as steady as he can, which is an advantage, and probably will have let him hold slightly higher kind of average watts than he would be able to normally. And then on the run, I think he'll go out with the pace that he thinks he can hold to run the fastest marathon, which is probably knowing, you'd want to be a bit under that kind of pace for the first half, and then you're hanging on a bit in the back half. You want to be, the way to pace is to be as even paced as possible, and I think that's what he was trying to do.
Is there anything you've learned here, Macca, from this telecast and from this overall, not just the telecast part of it, but the race part or whatever, that you might want to put in to sub 7, sub 8 next year?
Look, I like some of I like the swim boys, the ATU. They've stolen those curved swim boys. We talked about a lot of those for how we're going to structure the swim course around the new course we have. But a lot of the stuff that Jan has put in, we're doing anyway. And we talked about this in Bahrain. I think Jan was privy to the conversation with Alistair and myself around breaking 7 hours. And it's probably the catalyst for him opting to have a match race against Lionel, because it was a discussion around match racing. It's a great concept. I tried to do this with Lance Armstrong, 10 years ago, because I just think it's a great concept in the sense that when you got two great athletes and you take all the noise out and you just come up against each other, you do great things. And this is what's pushing them to great times. Lionel's going to do his best time ever. Yet only 3 weeks ago, he was walking to the end of an Ironman wanting to retire. So match racing, I think, just brings out so much more in you, because you block out that noise, you focus on what you did. And Ali nailed it with Jan. Jan has become a technician and you watched it when he was racing out, just a technician with his power. He knows how to ride it. He knows how to consistently keep it. He was running his glucose levels using the Super Sapien app thing for this. So he knew all his nutrition, and he's really slowly dialed that nutrition in. He had a couple of wobbles early in his early long course racing, but he's really been able to get that. And that is, Ali was saying before, trying to get an even pace marathon is hard. And, most people's tactics, and it's not by choice, you tend to go out naturally quicker than you're going to finish in an Ironman. And the first half for the marathon much quicker than the second half, and you sort of grab this margin of error. But what this new age of athletes are doing, and Ali, when I saw you do that he did the same in Bustleton, they're dropping these big marathon times, but they're running very, very even splits. It's getting a lot more even, and Jan's been able to do that, even though we're seeing a 1 minute differential between the back end and the front end. That's literally an even paced marathon in an Ironman. If you're running within 2 or 3 minutes of your front end split, you're literally even pacing the marathon, because it's natural progression to slow down in an Ironman, because the muscular fatigue and the breakdown is huge, much more than a marathon itself.
So Sanders right now, 2:15 up on the world record pace, whereas Frodeno is 10:16 up on the world record pace, and he's still running a 3:48 average. And Sanders running the 3:50 average too, and that's at nearly 30 kilometres into the run. So, as you say, like incredibly consistent throughout in terms of average minutes per kilometres. And it's and yes, we know Jan Frodeno, he doesn't do anything by accident. Everything's very well planned out. This would have been planned for months before we even saw the proposed social media back and forth that birthed it. But what surprises me is this journey for Sanders from Coeur d'Alene in Idaho to here, and exactly because I really dug into all of his story and that nutrition plan he had that he thought had absolutely nailed it. And he lost something like 8% of his body weight in that race, like 15 pounds or more than that. He didn't drink any water at all. He just drank Gatorade Endurance, and he had gels, and he was so diluted in the sodium in his body that his body stopped working anymore. He said he sweats 2.5 liters an hour. And what I guess I want to take away from it is this far into his, this guy's won 30 70.3s. He's won 4 Ironmans. This far into his career, should he not have that stuff more dialed in than what he does? To get that, he really thought that's what he needed to do, or is it more of a complicated science than that? Because I guess I don't appreciate it enough. So I want to pick your brain, Mac. What do you think? He's 33 years of age. He's done a lot, and he looked like he got it very wrong, but he thought it was very correct when he went in, and he nailed it 100%.
Look, yeah, the big difference between a 70.3 and an Ironman, and it's not just double the distance. A lot of it's a completely different animal that's performing at this level in an Ironman compared to winning a 70.3 race. So, and Lionel, I believe, is a very, very strong, solid 70.3 racer. He's put together some incredible Ironmans. Don't get me wrong, but I tend to favour his 70.3 racing over his Ironman racing. His nutrition. I never nailed nutrition. It was something I took me a long time to learn, especially when conditions were hot. In conditions like we're seeing today, I never had a problem. But my problems were always around that core body temperature. So a lot of people blow up and they think it's a nutrition problem when really it's an eat problem. that was really my issues. I never lost an Ironman except in Kona, so it was a problem with learning how to hydrate. And when I was hearing Lionel talk about he loses 2 liters of fluid an hour and he needs to put 2 liters back in, he needs to understand how much his body can absorb in an hour, because I know for a fact I could only absorb a little over 1 liter an hour of fluid. So it was always diminishing returns. So it was a matter of understanding what you can absorb in versus what you can take, what you're losing, and trying to stay within those heart rate zones or those power zones that enable you to lose less if you could. So it is a science. Some people have no issues with nutrition, and I envy those people. But I had a lot of issues, and when you get it right, you think, oh man, I've worked it out, and then it creeps up and bites you on the butt again the next race. So that's the beauty of endurance racing. There is no guarantee, because you're fueling a body that you're hoping is going to perform at what you're seeing on screen at its best, but it can only perform if the nutrition's there, and sometimes your body reacts positively to it, and sometimes it doesn't. But you sort of get the framework right. And you need to have some relative flexibility, I believe, within your nutrition plan as your race unfolds, and make those decisions on course. Because seeing Lionel vomit all over the road in Coeur d'Alene a few weeks ago, to me that is a solid nutrition problem, and probably the overindulgence of food, putting it in when your body's not absorbing it, and your body just naturally throws it up.
I can tell you that every time I throw up, it's because I put too much of something in and my body cannot absorb it. But it's usually not. It's not gels and Gatorade endurance. I can give you the hot tip. Well, Alistair, you've obviously learned a lot between, say, the first time you went to Kona, and then obviously you went and put down a 7:45 in Busselton. I mean, it's a steep learning curve to go from Olympic distance racing and then obviously come up to that level. So where's are you really confident about your nutrition plans at this stage in your long distance career?
Well, yeah, if I made 2 big kind of differences post Kona and then to do well in Busselton, it was nutrition and nailing pacing. And I think, I mean, nutrition was probably the big one of those, getting that right. And Busselton was, an absolute kind of pleasure to do, right through to even the last 10, I only probably got 10k to go, and I was still feeling pretty good and enjoying the race, really. So if you get it right, the difference is like night and day. I think I describe lots of people, you say Olympic distance is maybe 5% nutrition most. It's really, nutrition isn't really that kind of big a thing. I think when it's obviously really hot, getting the right water and electrolytes in is probably a bit more important, but whatever, not that important. Ironman, it's massive, like whatever that percentage is, like 40 or 50% or something. So yeah, made a big effort then. And yeah, since it's actually something I've been doing quite a bit of in the last couple of months, exactly what Macca said, working out what my body can absorb. Because there's no point putting in loads of carbs in your stomach and water that you can't absorb, because they're just going to sit in your stomach. And the one thing that is going on at Ironman is your stomach's getting quite a kind of a battering as it is, because you're just at it for a long time, putting a lot of stuff in it. And so I think it's getting that right is crucial. And I've been in the lab, tested that a bit over the last couple of months, and been putting the kind of fluid together that is ultimate for me.
Interesting. It's obviously there's a lot to this, isn't there? Because obviously conditions play a big part into it. It changes throughout. Even if your plan is one thing, and then you come out there and it's raining and whatever it is, it's a bit more of a dark science than I guess we expect it to be. Like you always expect, like, oh, you need this and then that's it. But it's obviously a lot more than that for Lionel to be at this point in his career, and I guess to turn it around from 3 weeks ago and have that and walk a 3:52 marathon was what he did in the end in Coeur d'Alene, and then turn around here and probably go 7:25 or 7:30 is amazing.
If we look back at the feed, because I just saw a clip of the feed then, it looked like
he was sitting down. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought I
might be wrong, but let's not talk about this until we see.
Yeah. I saw him sitting down. I was wondering if that was no, he's still running.
No, that was a pre-recorded package of him doing something different.
Okay.
No, he's all right.
He's all right.
Yeah, good.
Do we know what race from here that the interesting thing for the build up to Kona, because there's been a lot of talk around this tri battle. You know, you're doing a big deep marathon, big deep Ironman in July. It's mid-July, which is like doing Ironman Germany. And in Jan's case, he's already qualified for Kona from the 2019-20 qualification process, so he's already across. But in Lionel's case, he hasn't got that spot for Kona, so he's got to come off this performance, drop another Ironman to qualify, and then go to Kona. So the effects on his Kona event, I'm interested to see how he pulls up from this and how he qualifies, and then what he's got left on the Big Island if that race goes ahead, because he's going deep here. Both of them are, and I couldn't imagine having to drop another Ironman within the next 12 weeks prior to Kona, just to get there. Because the ratification days are done. You actually have to earn your slot now, back like the old days, don't you? Yeah. So he's actually got to race an Ironman.
I actually looked into this. So these are his options, right? So he finishes this, and then he's got either Frankfurt or Copenhagen, which is either on the 15th of August or the 22nd. There's three spots available. Three spots available.
The Norwegians, Christian and what's his name, Gustav.
Yeah. So there's 3 spots available in Frankfurt, 2 in Copenhagen, and then he's like the poster boy for the Collins Cup, and that's on the 28th of August. So you wouldn't think that he can get away with not doing that, because he's basically the biggest name on the American team or whatever on the 28th, and then 29th is the cutoff. So he's going to have those at least 2 races in there, and then either the 70.3 Worlds, I guess, if he doesn't make it in Utah in September, or he goes to Kona on the 9th of October. Now, is that in any way possible that he can arrive in Kona in any kind of form, in your opinion?
You can go to Kona and you'll finish and you'll race, but you're not going to win the event, and that's a guarantee. And just ask yourself, in the last 25 years, what male athlete has won Kona off more than 2 Ironmans in a season? None. 0. It doesn't work. You can't dig that deep and expect to perform in Kona. It's a special beast. And when you're looking at doing 3, especially when you're cramming 3 Ironmans in the back end of the year when you've got an October race, it's, he's going to be there. He's going to be on the start list, and you'll see Lionel Sanders' name. But if he wins Kona, I'll match his prize money. It's not happening. It won't happen. And that's a tragedy, because I think he brings so much to the racing, and I really wish he grabbed that spot in Coeur d'Alene, which probably would have seen him a little bit off for this race. But this is a fantastic race, and I love watching it. But I want to see the best guys also come off this event with the world record and go to Kona and give us that Kona race that we missed last year, because it's such a beautiful race as a fan of the sport to watch, and has such a rich history, which brings so much excitement to fans of the sport to tune in. And I think, Lionel brings a lot of, after that second place performance 4 years ago now, it was, I think we're expecting that next progression, but Jan's since stepped up, Patrick's back, Alistair's coming, Blumenfeld's coming, Gustav Eden's coming. There's Sebastian Kienle's there. There's a whole bunch of them now, and Sam Long is doing so many big things. There's a whole bunch of them there. They're going to apply a lot of pressure up front. You just want Lionel Sanders to be able to go to the well and race to his ability in Kona, which I just don't think 2021 will be.
Well, he said this is more important to him than Kona is. I don't know what he's getting paid to do it, but obviously the chance to go up against the great man is enough for him, and as well as the $100,000 he's probably got in his back pocket from doing it, without being too critical about the whole thing. But there's a question that's just come in, Ali. If you were racing with him today, where do you think you would be? I think, and let's add to that question, looking at this, do you want to be out there? I mean, obviously you want to be racing, but like, if you were fit and Jan had picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Ali, let's go toe to toe and we're doing this thing," you would say, obviously not, I'm doing sub 7, so I'm going to be faster than you. But if you hypothetically were not going to say that, would you be wanting to be out there doing this thing and pushing Jan like he's not being pushed right now?
Yeah, I'd love to be there now. Absolutely. If he'd picked up the phone, obviously what's going on, I haven't been able to, I wouldn't have been able to race anyway, but if I had been able to race, I definitely would have been there. Yep.
Yeah. You love a race.
I love it, isn't it?
I love it.
Hard with your foot up, you got your leg up, you're in the library at home, and you're sitting there with your big moon boot thing on. It must be a massive pain to cope with that. But where would you be in this race? Obviously, they're running super quick times, and to get a shot to be that fast. What about you, Matt? Back in the day, would you have done it? But as well, like Ali, like obviously you would have been better placed at least coming out of the water. We know that much.
Me or Ali?
No, not Mac. Mac and Cuss. No, Alistair. Do you think they should have picked someone else or obviously you, or someone else who could have pushed him more early?
I mean, I don't know. I think I start from the point that this is about fan engagement and people's interest in the sport. And I'm not being cynical at all by saying that. Genuinely, I'm just saying it's what a great thing. I think we all love triathlon. Getting more people engaged and interested in it is also a great thing, and that's a large part of what Sub 7 is designed to do as well. And like Macca, match racing is a great idea. I think probably these ideas come from the same place as the Sub 7 idea, because we were all there when we talked about it, and we first came up with it. So yeah, and to be honest, I could see if you were Jan and you're going, yeah, if I want to bring as much kind of external interest to this and the story part of it, who's a great athlete to do that with? And Lionel being at the top of that list, I can see that. He's a great character. He's got loads of fans. He brings a kind of a new perspective to the sport and lays everything out there on the line in that really kind of North American way of saying things like it is, and being really straight with stuff. All his data is out there and everything. And if I was thinking about it, I can completely see I could come to the same decision. And Lionel will publish all his data. He'll publish exactly how far the course was, what his watts were, etc., etc.
It's like boxing, right? Jan's done the smart thing. Floyd Mayweather picks the fights when they suit Floyd Mayweather. He doesn't fight. It's the quintessential boxing mindset. Is exactly that. You bring the people in that bring enough more attention to the event, pay-per-view. And Lionel Sanders has a huge following. He has his YouTube channel that's driven out by Talbot. He's very, very, loved within the sport because he has a great story, and he's come from such despair, and he's turned his life around. It's a fantastic story, and he's at the top of one of the toughest sports on the planet. So, yeah, kudos to him for stepping up against Jan, who is Olympic champion, the last Olympic champion before Alistair. There'll be a new one in a bit over a week's time. Now he's a 3-time Ironman world champion. So Lionel, kudos to him for having the courage to take him on and thinking he was half a shot, and clever work by Jan for putting it all together and picking the right athlete to take on.
Who would you take on, Macca? Pete Murray's sent a message in the day. Who would you have liked to match up with? I know you tried to match up against back to Lance Armstrong all those years ago, and things worked out well for him. But who would you like to have matched up with back then?
I would have liked to have a match off again with Norman Stadler. I enjoyed racing Norman. He was we knew each other since juniors, and he was so good at this distance. It was frustrating for me because he wasn't very good at the ITU stuff back in the day, and he sort of migrated across to Ironman racing and dominated it. And I always had this preconceived idea that the only reason he was good over there was because all the good guys were doing ITU, and once we moved across, we'd kill them. And I was very humbled because he beat the shit out of me for many years in Kona, and then ultimately we started having some big races in Europe, and we had a few big solid events at a couple of Roths, and I was like, but I don't think I raced him as much as I would wanted to. I only really got the opportunity to tap out and race him in Kona. So he was one guy I would have loved to have done a match race like this, because we suited each other's strengths. He was a great biker. He ran okay. His swim was off. My swim was better than his, but my bike wasn't where his was, but my run was strong. So it would have been a great match race.
Looking at the times, they've got the updated projected times just flicked up on the screen before. 7:25:07 is the current projection. So in the last few Ks, he hasn't lost much on that projected time to what it was last time we updated it. It was just under 7:25, and Sanders is 7:35:15. So he's going to be battling against that old time of Frodeno. He's probably going to drop back off there. And I just noticed this comment came through. One takeaway, irrespective of records, or even if you think that matters, is that here we have two athletes and their teams and sponsors combining to create a standalone event independent of a headline organising body, and likely creating more headlines, more coverage, more media value, and pretty much more than any other option or any other body at the moment. Athletes truly taking control of their sport and using their own profiles and supporters to create a product. And I think that's spot on for this, and it's spot on for what we're doing as well, and it's spot on for what we did with Super League Triathlon. And, you know, we maybe at the behest of some of the organising bodies, we're without them, I guess we're moving the sport forward. And I'm hoping that there's a lot of people that are tuning into this and will tune into Sub 7, Sub 8 who aren't fans of triathlon, but who see the data and who see the numbers and who understand the narrative and see what has to be overcome, and watch the documentary that we're going to put out and see what it takes to do something that people think that's impossible. And there's been their fair share of naysayers about Sub 7, Sub 8, and probably about this as well. And Ali, you would have had some mixed feedback of being part of this thing. And what have you had mixed feedback on this? Some people saying it's stupid, it's a waste of time, and how do you respond to that? And has that even happened?
No, I haven't had that much negative feedback. I think to cover that point of I guess athletes taking control of the racing events and the kind of commerciality around it, I think in this case is brilliant. I think I even saw something where Jan said it's because Ironman hadn't got his act together and he needed to race and he felt he was running out of time, and so he's putting on races, which I think is great. And about Sub 7, kind of whether I've had much negativity around it. I was the opposite, actually. I was surprised about how much positivity there was, interest from people I talk to, interest from people I know but don't talk too much, just completely captured by the idea and of maximizing kind of human performance and going as fast as you can, and loads of people have been interested in that, and it's been really great to hear.
What about technology wise? Obviously these guys, and they talked with Canyon a little bit earlier about the cockpit that's been designed specifically for him, based on wind tunnels and based on 3D imaging and all this kind of stuff. Is that those kind of things you're looking into with your sponsors as well, in terms of maximizing your speed on the bike? We're talking about shoes, tri-suits, wetsuits, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very much so. And trying to maximize that as much as I can. I actually sat down the other day and basically thought, right, what can I maximize here and where, and put those gains in order, and who's doing what and when am I doing what. It is. I'm looking into everything I can at the moment, and it's something I really enjoy. So and in some ways the Sub 7 project has kind of stimulated my interest and other people's interest around me to really develop some of this technology, which is great.
It is, because that the Norwegians are doing some weird shit up there. There's some weird stuff. I don't know what they're going to come out with, but some odd stuff from what we'll get from those guys. But it's going to be a really, really interesting one. And then looking at the times that these guys are doing, does that change what you think the goal times are? I mean, than what we kind of had in our head beforehand? Because I know that, like, Christian thinks you can run a certain marathon, and you think that maybe there's going to be more time to be made up on the bike or whatever it is. But now looking at what these guys are doing in a match race, does that change your idea about what's achievable or what your goals should be in terms of each discipline?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is the kind of question of, the old sub 4 minute mile thing, isn't it? That for years and years, until Roger Bannister actually broke sub 4 minutes with 3:59.4 or 0.6 or whatever he ran in Oxford in 1956. People have tried to do it for decades in the lead up to that, and then within months afterwards, I think it would Mac would know as well as
John
me,
Landy.
it was John Landy
Yeah.
had run the time a few times and actually run 3:58. So it's just this amazing example of the kind of psychological power of some of these lines in the sand, and also you need someone to go out there and actually wow, that person runs this fast. It is possible to do that. Maybe I can go faster. And I think you see that in sport. There are people who are kind of trendsetters, I guess, or people who genuinely do move it on, which I think is great to see.
Well, it's being moved on here. There's no doubt about it as we come up to 7 hours and we've got just a tick under 7.5 kilometres to go. We're on track for, well, could it be under, I mean, what are your picks, you guys? Are we going to be under 7:30 at this point?
7:04 to 32. Yeah, right close to it.
7:04 to 32, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how accurate the speed is. I think he since he's slowed down, he's probably running the best part of 4 minutes per kilometre now, is like a rough thing. So, 7K at 4 minute kilometres, or 7 and a bit, we're looking at 29 minutes there. So, yeah, I think we're looking probably in that mid range of like 7:26, 27:28, I think.
Well, looking there, it looks like the world record is catching up on Lionel Sanders very much. He's now 47 seconds ahead of the world record pace time. And, of course, that's because, with that world record pace line is even across the course of the marathon. And obviously that's not what human performance is like. So Lionel might drop off. It looks like Jan might indeed end up having the top 2 times in history, or at least, the top 2 world record times, which, he fully deserves. And I mean, is he the greatest of all time? That's another big question we should look at here, because obviously he's doing it for Bahrain Endurance. He's obviously won Kona 3 times. He's won the Olympics. Is he the greatest ever to do it, Macca?
Yeah, look, the Palomares don't lie, right? He's got an Olympic gold medal, which you have to have. Only what?
He hasn't got 2 though, has he?
He doesn't. Yeah, but you need one of those. I feel like in order to put your hand up, you obviously need a medal. A gold one's the best one to have. If you got 2, even better. And then he's won Kona. He's won those 70.3. He's won the major championship races. In any sport, it's about winning the majors, right? And the biggest events of your time. Now you've got Collins Cup and these other events that have come, but you can only win the biggest events of the time, and he's done that, right? So I can't place anyone who's come before him in front of him at the moment. That doesn't mean that doesn't change. You're only as good as the next group of people who come. So yeah, he's remarkable. He's very, very good at this style of racing. I think he's better at the Ironman distance, the longer distance, than he was at the ITU, and he was very, very good at ITU racing. I think the Brownlee era made him obsolete very, very quickly in that style of racing, even though he was very competitive still. But that attacking racing wasn't what Jan was renowned for. And he was more into that Gomez style tempo racing, where you came along, Alistair, with Johnny and ripped the legs off him on the bike and was aggressive and made the Brad Carterfelts and these sort of athletes quite obsolete quite quickly. And Jan was a casualty of that. But to his absolute ability and talent, he moved the bar up as well. The bar got lifted by you guys, and he improved. But his transition across to long course racing, it was rapid. He struggled one of the 70.3s, his first attempt in Vegas when Keenlay did a number on him, but he learnt that craft very, very quickly, picked up a world title there, and his Ironman progression was from a bronze straight into the win. So yeah, he's rock solid, mate. And he doesn't seem to be slowing down. As a 40-year-old, he's breaking the world record, right? So he's not slowing down. So the longevity is still there, and it's going to take athletes to dislodge him. And the current crop that are Ironman focused, I don't think any of them in there believe they can do it. And there's not many with the arsenal that can do it. I think it's going to come out of the next breed. And I've said it with the Alistairs, and I'm saying it with the Blumenfelds and the Gustav Edens and this next generation of stars. that can swim and match their swim power, but also have the arsenal on the bike and the run to back it up. And you give them 1 or 2 years to learn the craft and the nutrition element, and the talent always rises to the top.
Yeah, or do we have a tennis situation where it keeps going on and on and on with Federer and Nadal and Djokovic, and no one can dislodge them? We don't want that to happen, right? We need Alistair, as you say, like Alistair and Christian and Gustav to. And is there any other names we want to add to that? I mean, who's part of the next generation? Who else is part of that? Because obviously Gustav's obviously got a 7.3 title. Christian Blumenfeld's never done an Ironman. He's still got to do one between now and Kona, and he's planning to do that and race Super League and go to the Olympics. So I don't know how he's going to do that. He's a madman. But, I mean, who else from your generation, if you like, Ali? I mean, Lionel's only, a year older, but, like, who's coming across that you know of, or that you want to mention as guys that are going to challenge in the next decade?
Yeah, I must admit, I don't know who's going to come across from ITU racing, and we'll see over the next 6 months, won't we? I think obviously, kind of like Mac keeps saying, to compete at the top level of whether it's the middle distance or full distance, long distance, you've got to be at the top end of the ITU field. So you're not looking too far outside that. So then I guess we look at people like Vincent. I think Vincent is going to be a really hard draw for him to pull him completely to long distance, with the next Olympics being in Paris, home games. You can see that being a massive draw for him, and rightly so. That you think of the other guys who are kind of good all-rounders. Maybe some of the French guys. I guess Pierre Lecour.
Van Riel? What about Martin Van Riel?
I was going to see Van Riel next. He's a good all-rounder. You could see him being a kind of top long-distance guy. And then, but outside that, and it's going to be a lot more of, I know, Johnny's focus in the next few years as well. So he's going to be throwing his hat in the ring. I don't know. I think, in some ways, the balance of the sport might be shifting a bit, and shifted over the last 5 years, for actually some of the top short distance guys are really motivated to long distance racing. And I think that half distance race, whether it's the PTO style, PTO champs or 70.3 world champs, over the last few years, I think that's been some of the most competitive racing there's been.
Yeah, it's a better distance, really, for racing, and watching the two athletes from both distances merge, even though it does tend to favour that ITU athlete. I think that 70.3 distance is a remarkable distance. It's great racing because it challenges, across the board in swim, bike and run. But that longer run is tough. That 21K run, it still bites, and you can lose time if things go south very, very quickly. It's a great distance. And that 70.3 racing at the world's level has been remarkable. Since the South Africa race that you guys did, that was incredible.
What was that, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing race. Amazing.
Yeah, that was an epic race.
Definitely. Jan's run there was one of the most impressive runs I've seen in triathlon, for sure.
Until now, because he just continues to break this record. Currently 7:25:07, I think, is our projected time, according to Pete. Anyway, we had it up on the screen just before. But
it's 7:05. It's 4 5s to 20. It's going to be 7:28, 7:29.
Yep. Yeah. It looks
7:30. 7:30. I'll call
7:30 overs unders.
7:29.
That's really. I mean, he even mentioned it in the pre-race that 7:30 is the barrier until it isn't, until someone takes it further or lower than that. But I think you're probably close to right.
Not entirely sure of the splits because we're not really getting, for all the talk of the data, it'd be nice to see some more splits. Especially considering that on a lap, we could be seeing exactly what runs time, is K pace. We know he was averaging 3:45 pace, which gives you about a 3:37 marathon, which is quite fast. We know he's slowed since then, so we're looking at kind of a 3:40 or slightly slower marathon, I think, but I don't really know. I think if we're looking at a 3:40 marathon and slower than that, you know, that's kind of probably a way off, or a little bit off the fastest Ironman marathon he can run. You know, he was pretty close to that at Kona, where obviously it's fairly hilly and hot. So that is probably, he might be a bit disappointed with that. All this, I guess he's probably maybe ridden a bit harder than he might have normally. I don't know. All this time, really, you know, the swim time is going to be fairly standard. The run time is going to be fairly, obviously, I'm not saying unimpressive. It's still very impressive, but standard for Jan. The entire time on this time has come on the bike.
The bike was amazing. But yeah, Jan's only, when you look at Jan's median or mean marathon time, it's always around that 2:43 mark, right? He's dropped a couple of quick marathons, but his mean marathon time is around this 2:43 mark. He always goes out quick and he's always been able to shut it down too. He's been in a position where he hasn't had to dig deep and so he's been able to relax that back end of the marathon, but he tends to run around that 43, 44 mark quite consistently. He's dropped a couple of sub 240s, but not a lot of them. He's well and truly capable of doing it, don't get me wrong, but that sub 4 hour bike has got to bite someone, otherwise you're not human. It's got to bite a little bit.
I'm still reeling from that 3:55, 13 minutes quicker than he's ever done it. What do you guys think of the bike bowl? Does it help? They look shaky on it. A few people have actually made that, have asked that question. I mean, earlier on, so the Canyon bike bowl, I mean, you guys would have seen it. They hit it 4 times, I think, maybe even more actually on the bike. It was wet. Jan was perfect on it, hit it every time. The first time Lionel hit it, he went too quick. He nearly came off the top of it. He nearly sent himself over the barrier. He was close. He was real close. And then every other time he hit it after that, he was just like, oh, he just came through like a granny, right? He was he scared himself, I reckon. But it's not the first time that's happened. And Macca, wasn't there like the Tui's bike bowl or what was it? It came up in the comments before, but
Tui's blue bike bowl. Yeah, we used to have the Tui's blue bike bowl back in it's like the Super League style format we used to race here in Australia.
It is. They
created a bowl exactly the same as that, and a lot of the athletes, they're riding around a bowl at 45k an hour in a crit circuit. A lot of athletes were picking their teeth out of the pavement. A lot of people went down, so they quickly removed it. In this sort of conditions, it's, you know, when you're hitting it one person at a time, it does. I liked it. I found that it sort of threw you out of the corner, and you were able to maintain your speed and pace. It was wet today, so these guys, they used it effectively. And I thought Jan did a great job. I was keen to watch him go around it, and watched him twice hit that bike bowl and came off it and never dropped below 40k an hour. It was lovely.
We could do this. We could put a bike bowl in. We could do jumps, mate. We could do whatever you want. Alan, what do you want, mate? A few gaps to jump. Oh, anything's possible. Anything's possible. But I don't think we're going to need that. I think
Phil Jarvis is saying Joe Skipper did a 3:2800 miler the other week, Ali. Geez, that's good riding.
Yeah, that's really fast.
Far out.
But yeah, there's a guy I know who's actually done a sub 3 hours 100 miler. You're obviously doing it on a tailwind, slightly downhill course there. But yeah, it's still an amazing thing. Yeah, Joe's obviously a real good time trialist for international watchers in the UK. We obviously massive fans of time trialing.
Big time.
Yeah, traditional distances over 10, 25 and 100, even up to 12 hours, amazingly. There's some amazing times going on, and guys are really pushing it out in terms of aerodynamics and finding fast courses. I think one of the things with I don't know that much about Joe's time, but quite often on these UK courses, you do them on busy roads where you get good drag from cars and lorries, and that gives you a little bit of a speed advantage. But yeah, I don't actually know where Joe did that.
Well, I mean, and one difference, and we should point this out, between what you'll see in sub 7, sub 8 and what this is that there's teams of pacemakers that are going to be assisting. So we'll be running under the world record rules, if you like. It's going to be more about human achievement. And I know that you've mentioned Joe Skipper in your pacemaking team, because the bike is where obviously you can make up a whole bunch of there you go, dual carriageway at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, says Phil Jarvis. It probably helped him a little bit.
Yeah. To be honest, if we found the right dual carriageway at the right time, we probably wouldn't need a pace team.
Well, I think Joe's at that pace. Joe's probably his own dual carriageway at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just sitting behind someone as good as that. And there's a few other big names I'm sure you're looking at as well. And that's going to be a really big difference tactically and interest-wise in terms of what's going to be possible and the tactics around it. And I'm sure you put a lot of thought into that as well, how that looks for you over the distance as they cross paths there with 3.7 kilometres to go. Just have a wave. How you going? Good on you. I know that I actually saw before that Lionel last time they passed was like go for the world record to Jan. So he's backing him in because he knows the race is over. But to get back to the pacemakers, obviously it's going to be really interesting tactically, and I'm sure you've been putting a lot of thought into that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Really, as we've seen here, the times to gain times on the record, it's all about time on the bike over 4 hours long. We kind of know the, like you said, the kind of rough watches that these guys are pushing. You kind of know how aerodynamic you get. And so outside that, it's finding ways of speeding you up on the bike course.
And what do you think will you run a quicker marathon? Do you think if you're dropping these 3:30 bike rides off the pace, is it going to eat into that marathon? Is it going to make that early marathon pace harder to hold, or how are you going to attack the marathon?
Yeah, well, that's the question, isn't it? How much gain can you have in the bike for your loss on the marathon? Yeah. And I'd like to think I can run quicker, or quicker than I have on the marathon. But obviously getting the pace right on the bike is going to be absolutely crucial for that.
Yeah.
We're just seeing the times update there, and Lionel's falling back considerably now compared to that world record time that just comes on relentlessly. But it looks like Jan's still got plenty of space there as he goes to now, what has he got? Under 3. The projected total now 7:27.24. So we're getting right around. We're getting right around pick your time marks, gentlemen. So if the current projected total is 7:27.24, Macca, give me an exact time. Let's have a sweepstakes, right? Okay, we're getting close now.
12, 3:26, 3.
Stop saying numbers, mate. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm doing math.
I know. You don't have to do it out loud.
I'm going to say
Alistair,
3:28.
Alistair's got degrees. Alistair's doing
3:28.
7:28.07.
Yeah, 7:28.07.
Okay, so this is what Macca goes like. Okay, 3 4s are 12. 3 minus 1 is 11. Whereas like Alistair's doing like algebra in his head and shit, like physics and shit. He's like, well,
no, it doesn't make it any more accurate. But,
you're like
7:27.40. 7:27.40.
7:27.40. Yeah, he's like, well, there's 700 meters above sea level. There's a light east-northeasterly breeze, and you can take into the curvature of the Earth. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm being informed that Macca has a degree in accountancy. So, would you allow Macca to be your
master's degree?
A master's.
Well,
imagine
I have
Macca
a degree in finance. My master's in accounting. I have a dual degree.
Macca would be the kind of accountant where you like at the end of your career, you're like, all right, I'll go check on my money now, and you go to your account. And it's gone, and Macca's in Mexico. He's just gone. You're like, oh, okay, cool. That was a good decision.
Ponzi scheme.
Really good decision, like full Christopher Skase level stuff. So 7:27.40, 7:28.07 for Macca. I won't even have. Nobody cares.
Pete Murray 7:27.53.
Everyone's getting into it. All right, we're having a sweepstakes in the comments.
Okay, there's $100 on the right time.
Right, $100 from Macca.
On the right time.
Put your numbers in. If you can nail the time for Jan Frodeno, Macca will give you $100, but he won't really. He'll disappear when you go around his house. He won't answer the door. But maybe we've probably got a Phoenix hat or something. I don't know what we've got.
I think he's actually going to go a bit fast. I think the projected.
Oh, here we go. Now there's $100 on the line. You're like, hang on, wait.
No, well, I don't know how he went through 3K to go at 7:15. He's not.
So that time is that time at the top, bro?
Well, I don't know what's wrong. The distance to go could be wrong, or something else could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
3K to go. I mean, he's going to run that in 12 minutes, so he's going to be under 7:27 according to that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to slow down significantly. You know, he might normally slow down near the line and kind of not worry about the time too much, but I think he's going to keep pushing pretty hard here. So, yeah. But yeah, I know we've talked a lot about the data and what's going on. We don't know how accurate everything is.
Well, we'll have good data at sub 7, sub 8 because we're seeing a fortune.
And it'll be up on the screen.
It'll be on the screen. It'll be great graphics. We'll take all the record times. We'll take everything. We'll have
so a blue line, like a line on the ground, like the whole graphics package, the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Virtual will be like Formula One with like all the crazy graphics. That's the plan anyway. But they're all coming in 7:28.14 from Chris. Corey thinks 7:28.05. A lot of 7:28 guesses here. 7:28.02. 7:26 flat, says Roy. That's very aggressive.
Are the rules, Will, if you go over the time, you're out? You have to be under the time and round up? Or
okay. Yeah, we can change the rules. I mean, we were just making it up as we go along. So why not? If you're over, you're out. Well, that's from The Price is Right. Basically.
Yeah. You can't go over the time. So
otherwise, the little man falls off the mountain. I know. I watched it too in the 90s. Noel says 7:27. We're getting close. There's Lionel. Lionel looks like he has been shot. He looks like he has taken a bullet early on in this run, and he's limping his way back from the front lines. Genesis 7:27.10. I mean, he's got to know, Ray, basically where he's at and know he needs to set that time. So you'd be surprised if he takes his foot off the gas now. But I had a close shot of him a minute ago, and he was grimacing pretty badly. So there you go. Anywhere from 7. Our lowest is 7:27 flat. Our highest is 7:28.15, 14. And Lionel, is he going to make it to the end or is he going to bleed out? That's the question. Look at him. Oh, I just love him so much. I love him so much. Look at him. He's here right in the cave, isn't he? And to turn around from 3 weeks ago where he was busted to set possibly the second fastest time ever, or he'll be the second fastest man ever. Where does your 7:45 sit, Ali? Is that what number are you in the canon of Ironmen? You'll be up there somewhere.
I've got no idea actually. Yeah,
I think you'd be in the top 5
or 6. Yeah.
Imagine being in the top 5 or 6 and not knowing that you were. Like if I did that, I'd have a tattoo on my forehead. I'd be like 5th. I'd have to cross it out after this and change it to 6th. But
we'll put sub 12 together for you, Will. We'll do a sub 12 race.
I could do what sub 12 iron distance?
Sub 12.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, sub 12.
Sub 12 Olympic distance, maybe.
No, the issue with the times is
I'm not convinced about their data. So we're now coming up to 2K, and he's run this. If that's right, he's run this K in like 4:30. Talking about Jan. So if those graphics at the top, I don't know.
And he looks to be moving quicker than that.
Well, yeah. If you're talking about Lionel, I would have believed you.
No, well, actually, technically, nearly 4:40 there because he's gone from 7:15 to 7:19. So I don't.
I'm glad one of us is paying attention for the end of the race. Yeah. I'm just too busy with the sweepstakes, mate. At least you're doing the numbers. Good man. That's why we got you on. So it's coming up to 7:20 flat now. We've got 1.94 Ks to go. Look, we might not know 100% about where he is on the course exactly in terms of those numbers, kilometres to go. But the clock above is for sure. And Pete Murray's put a good point here. But if he had someone on his shoulder during the race, it would have helped him. Yeah. And you would have. He said Ali would have gone under 7:40 at Western Australia if he had someone on his shoulder during the race. It was a solo effort. Now, we're seeing a solo effort again here. If you have someone breathing down your neck the whole time, Ali, would you have gone under 7:40? Would it have helped you to have someone right behind you, or would it have messed with your pacing?
Yeah, because there I was I was really just focused on punching my Kona ticket. And so I kind of raced to the point where I knew I was going to get that and then chilled out a bit. And actually I could have run the last 15K quite a lot quicker, I think, at the time. I was just, you're not going to run a lot quicker unless you really have to. Anyone who knows who's done an Ironman, when your legs don't feel good, if you've got the chance to take it a bit steadier in that last hour of racing, you go to.
I'll take your word for that, mate. I will take your word for it. I'll never get to the last hour of an Ironman race. The last hour for me would be the hour before I get cut off. The hour between 11 and midnight. Anyway, we're into the last mile. We're at 7:21:26. We're coming up on.
Well, the 6-minute mile is 7:27:30.
7:27:30.
Yeah.
I have no idea what pace he's running, but he looks very steady as opposed to when you look at those two.
Yeah, he looks
good.
Really good.
He looks good. What a race this has turned out to be, considering that it hasn't really been a race, and Lionel's he's shuffling now, and I hope that he can finish this as strong as possible. But considering the conditions, considering the technical difficulties that they've no doubt had in the background, although I don't think we saw enough of Lionel, they could have put the other camera back to where Lionel was a little bit more. But the man who's paying the bills is at the front, so you stick with the man who's paying the bills. Annie Frederick's coming with a.
The thing is with Lionel is it's really deceptive. I must admit, I think the first time I ever raced him, it was at 70.3, and I was a few minutes in front of him going onto the run. And there was all these out and backs at St George, and my mate who was shouting me timing splits was saying, "Oh, you're whatever 3 minutes behind, and now it's 2:30." And every time I saw him, like, how the hell is this guy running faster than me? And then the next time split was, he's 2 minutes behind me now. Like, no, there's no chance. I see him, and yeah, so he runs deceptively fast for what you keep saying, for what he looks like.
Yeah, it looks like he's shuffling, doesn't he? But then he's running like under three splits. So the projected total is 7:27:24. It's about to come up on your screen right now. There you go. And then Sanders is 7:43:26, which. Now it comes into, does he beat your time, Alistair, or do you stay in the top 5? What was it exactly? 7:45. What was his time? Do you even know?
No,
WA?
I don't. No.
It annoys me so much when people achieve unbelievable things and then don't even remember. God damn it!
I think Lionel went 7. Has he gone 7:40 in Arizona? I think he has I think there's one. Because Jan's time's not in a night, so technically the typical triathlon, there's Ironman world records and there's the other fastest over the same distance. And, in the Ironman things, I think your time was the second or third fastest of all time, Ali. Third fastest of all time, because it was Tim Don, Lionel, and then you. But then they have these. Third race, third Ironman, third fastest. Third Ironman, third fastest time.
Yeah. Lionel did a 7:44:29 at Arizona.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Tim Don in Brazil was 7:40, I think.
7:40 something. And then Alistair in WA, I'll just inform you that he did a 7:45:21. So
very nice, thank you. Yeah,
it could have been faster, but
there's a lot of dead turns in that course.
Here we go.
It was quite warm. It was hot.
Maybe a bit hot.
Yeah.
And you jogged
shitty roads, Australian roads.
Jogged the last 15 Ks. Could have gone faster. Took it easy. Could have broken
all of this will remind you of when sub 7 happens. Remember you said.
Yeah. There's the grimace from the great man who is very close now to finishing this and finishing in under 7:30. And then forcing us to go back and change the sub 7, sub 8 website to the new record, which will still be a good half an hour more than we're hoping to do when we get to that point. And we had Lucy Charles actually say the other day that because she thinks that 8 hours, or people are telling her that 8 hours is extremely achievable, that she would be aiming for Jan Frodeno's 7:35:39. Which you'll now have to aim for Jan Frodeno's 7:20, whatever it turns out to be, because she's just in such supreme form at the moment. I mean, if you had to pick either Lucy or Nicola for sub 8, Ali, who would you pick?
I think Lucy's obviously got so much pedigree over the long distance, but anyone who's watched Nicola's career as a short distance athlete knows that she must be good at it. Like you just from the way she races, as a great biker, great runner. I think she can go fast. I was surprised. When she raced the PTO Championship last year, I had her as a real favourite to win. You know, the calibre of athlete she is, how good a biker she is, how good a runner she is. I thought she was going to do great, and she actually didn't have the performance I expected. So, but I still back her to put a great race together. I just think, she's got obviously, I think like Macca said, that step up from, even if you are a great pedigree of short distance athlete, to do it over the long distance. There's a few things you've got to learn, a few technical things I think you've got to get right, effort in time, and kind of the investment into the tech aspects of it, whether that is, like you talked about with Jan, having a good front end, a good aerodynamic position on the bike, good nutrition strategy. So I think it'll be mostly about getting all those factors right for her.
Yeah, you really cannot count Nicola Spirig out. She, she comes into her 5th Olympics as one of the favourites once again, and she's done a lot of winning in the last few months as well. And she has done the iron distance before, but hasn't been for a long, long time. I just read that Lionel Sanders is on the start list for Ironman Lake Placid next weekend.
Really?
Oh, Jan's coming to the finish. Yeah.
Here he is. Yeah. Oh, there we go, Corey. Thanks. Yeah, she won Ironman Cozumel in 2014. That's correct. That was a hot race too. And here he goes, coming into the finish, 7:27:30. We're just about to go past. There's the spot he slipped on the course last time around. And there you go, Jan Frodeno. You guys are watching history right now in Allgäu in Germany. He's going to break the Ironman world record, and he's going to do it in 7 hours, 27 minutes and 46. 46.
Geez, that
46.
clock stopped.
There he goes. 7:27:46. So he's taken about just a tick under 8 minutes. 7 minutes and 8 seconds, I think, off the time.
You're definitely not an accountant.
No, I'm not. I didn't. What is it? Is that right?
Take over, carry the 3. That's
I did maths in society. Maths in society is the lowest maths you can do in Australia.
Oh, it hurt though. That did hurt. That was a great race. It's a solid time, man.
That is an extremely solid time. And what a win for Bahrain Endurance. Obviously, the team is full of world champions, and Alistair, you're included as well. But to now, Bahrain Endurance, I guess the team held the world record. Now we hold the new world record. And Macca, that just must make you extremely happy.
Oh, look, the team's amazing. The athletes on the team are incredible. Jan is at this distance has been the gold standard for multiple years, and I was there in Roth when he smashed that record at 7:35, and being able to sit back and call it with you gents this afternoon or this evening in Australia and watching go 7:27:46. Amazing. Like, it really, really is incredible. I'm looking forward to coming from this and seeing the rest of the season, watching Ali hopefully be ready for Kona, and then building into a very, very similar build-up and an attempt in 2022 with the sub-7 event. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely amazing. And congratulations to Jan Frodeno. Congratulations to Alistair Brownlee, who was 6 seconds off with his guess.
I was the closest, surely, wasn't I?
No, you were 7:28:07, and Alistair was 7:27:40, as far as I've written this down.
7:28:07 I was. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's really disappointing for you. And
but that clock stopped a bit. I saw it. The Breitling watch just went.
Oh, well, you know what? There's been plenty of detractors about this and thoughts about this, but you've got to say that given the fact that they've managed to do such an amazing job of the coverage with the problems in the background. And to put down in those kind of conditions a 7:27:46, I think is just absolutely outstanding. And Alistair, you just must be wishing you were there.
Yeah, I absolutely would love to be there racing. And of course, sat down now, finished having enjoyed a good result. But I would love to race there today.
All right, are we going to hang around and see whether Lionel Sanders beats the time of Alistair Brownlee, or are we going to give it away because it's going to be another 10 minutes until he arrives? What do we vote? Do we stick around or do we hang it up?
Let the people tell us. It's a bit rude. We can't leave Lionel out in the course.
Can't leave Lionel out there on the course.
We didn't see much of Lionel all day. The first part of this race, you wouldn't know he was in it, but we've got to see Lionel come across the line. It's going to be a big time anyway. Like we're sitting there going, oh, yeah, should we wait for Lionel? It's like he's only 10 minutes back.
Wait for Lionel
37. Yeah, you can't.
Well, we've been told. Justin says we can't leave. We're going to stay. We're staying. We're sticking around. Don't worry. That's an extremely large microphone there for Jan Frodeno. We're going to bring Lionel home. He's got to beat. What's he got to beat? 7:45:21. I mean, I'm not back. I'm not.
Your math is horrible. 7:35.
No, that's Alistair's time.
Oh,
Alistair's
okay.
time. Okay. Back it up, mate. Back it up. I'm doing what's important here, making sure that he beats Alistair. I mean, making sure that he doesn't beat Alistair is what I meant to say.
He's already beaten me once. He doesn't need to beat me again.
That's true. Until you come back. So how long until you can run again, mate? How long until you can start training again? How long until you can get off the couch? I mean, what's the timeline say?
Well, I've been back in the water swimming and riding a bit and getting back into that. And then, slowly doing a bit more on the run, building just kind of with drills and stuff and just getting the ankle moving to start with. And then I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks I can kind of migrate to running.
That will be a good day after all of that to go through, because I'm sure it hasn't been an easy time for you to try and keep it under wraps, I suppose. And you must also be looking forward to the next couple of weeks and Johnny heading over there and spearheading what is a very, very strong, Great British triathlon squad.
Yeah, I am looking forward to the next 2 weeks. Obviously, I'm really lucky to be in the situation where I can travel to Tokyo and I'll be there watching the triathlon, which I'm really looking forward to that. So, yeah, I think the Great Britain squad is brilliant. I think we've got really good shots of medals across the men's, women's, and obviously the relay, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it is. How's Johnny feeling? He's obviously, he's one of the elder statesmen of the team now, but he comes into yet another Olympics and he seems to be in good form and, from what I can tell, happy and healthy and ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I think Johnny is in a great place. I think he's done everything he possibly could. I think he's trained as well as hard as he could. His preparation's gone really well. He's fit. He's prepared for the hot conditions, and all that's great. So yeah, I honestly don't think it could have gone better for him. And like I keep saying, that race is wide open. None of us can quite predict what's going to happen. I think there's a dozen favourites, if you can call them favourites. It's not like we've seen for the last few Olympic Games, and it's anyone's guess really what the podium's going to be out of those. And I think Johnny's got as good a chance of any of them. He's got fantastic experience, obviously, at racing at the Olympic Games. So there's no one better in lots of ways to go out there and perform.
Yeah, it is a very deep team, that GB team, and obviously Macca are only matched and outmatched by the Australians with 6.
Yeah, well, we're the only nation on the planet that did qualify 6 in the Olympics. I'm sure Alistair knows that. So that makes Australia the strongest triathlon nation on the planet. Still, after all these years, depth matters.
I teed you up for that, didn't I?
But no, I'm looking for. Look, I ever since the triathlon ever made the Olympics, it's been. I love it. I haven't missed one. I usually throw big parties. There won't be any party in Sydney. We're in lockdown at the moment, but every single Olympics I've thrown a party and brought people over and watched, and I love it. I cannot wait to witness it. I'm really looking forward to watching the relay. I find that really exciting racing, and as Alistair said, I think the Brits are right there, England's right there, the UK and Australia's right there, the French are right there. It's going to be a fantastic race. On the men's and women's individual race, I can't pick a winner. I'm just going to sit back. I've never been able to. Only when I picked Alistair in London, and I picked him again in Rio. But that was pretty easy pickings back then.
Yeah, not like this time. This time it gets hard. I'm a bit sad that I never got invited to one of your Olympics parties, man.
No, I only bring cool people, so you won't get an invite.
That's actually fair. I don't leave the house now anyway. We're under like a brutal lockdown. And we're just seeing some highlights of the race, and everyone was wondering. Jan spent about a full 30 seconds trying to pull something out of his pants, so he had his hand out of his pants. Yeah, it was the chamois. There's the slip. Man down.
Are they those bouncy Hoka shoes, Alec?
Yeah.
You know? They're the ones
Oh
like
yeah. They're a big advantage. They're a big advantage.
they're
as
a
well.
big advantage. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huge
I honestly
advantage.
no, genuinely, I think especially over Ironman, when your legs are getting fatigued in the second half, I think they're a massive game changer.
Wow, yeah.
Just Hoka specifically, or we're talking about carbon fiber shoes in general?
Across all the brands.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they've where Nike had a big advantage to start with. You know, all the brands. Adidas produce a great shoe now, as do Hoka and Asics and various others. Yeah, so I think everyone's relatively caught up and it's relatively even. But yeah, there's a big advantage to wearing those shoes.
Well, you've seen those records getting broken everywhere. Those road running records getting dropped and reset. And didn't the 10K record with Liz McColgan's daughter? She broke the 10K British record, or is it the world record?
British. I don't know if it's 10 or 5, but yeah, I mean there are. I kind of the shoe debate is great, and you know, I'm all in favour in technology. Is kind of what triathlon is in lots of ways, and technology speeding people up, and it's great. I think, you know, the shoes are making athletes faster, and that's fact, and that's great. But I think it's hard. We still obviously shouldn't let them detract too much away from amazing performances as well, because you still need the human wearing the shoe or whatever to do the race.
Here he is. He's coming finally. We've had enough of Jan signing autographs. Put him on. Here he is, the great man. Sorry to interrupt. I was just getting a bit annoyed because we weren't seeing any Lionel. It was just the Jan parade lap. But here we are back in Struggle Street with the fastest, slowest man in triathlon, who's just powering on, running sub 4 minute Ks still. Somehow. But it's very Forrest Gumpish to watch. We got everyone running behind him, the kids running along the side. He's just ploughing on his own. I love him. I love him so much. I think he's the best.
It's a big time to. Oh, he's tough as nails. Like he brings a lot. He's Rocky Balboa. He brings so much to the sport. I enjoy following him, and he's a warrior. And mate, look at that time. It's no joke. Right,
no,
it's a big step up from 3 weeks ago. I think he'll draw a lot of confidence from this. And you're saying he's racing next week in Lake Placid.
Well, he's on the list apparently. I've just got the live blog up from Tri 24/7, and John Levison says he's on Lake Placid.
He hates himself. Lionel hates himself, man. Like he doesn't like himself. He's going from this to Lake Placid. That's amazing.
Well, if he doesn't make it in Lake Placid, he'll probably go to Copenhagen or Frankfurt and try there, and then do the Collins Cup, and then do Kona if he makes it. And if he doesn't, he'll go to 70.3 Worlds. Oh, he loves a race. He absolutely loves a race. But he's getting close to the end now, Lionel, and he's going to be in the 740s somewhere. But regardless, he'll be one of the top 5 fastest men ever to do an Ironman, and to turn it around up 21 days after what happened in Coeur d'Alene is just one of the most monumental efforts you'll see. But then, you know, if he's Rocky Balboa, Macca, there's Ivan Drago on the left, the guy who just gets the science correct at all times. Without the doping, obviously. Without the doping. Apart from the doping part.
You could have called him Clubber Lang or one of those.
I could have. Rocky IV's my favourite one. Without the state-sponsored doping, if we put that to the side for 1 second, we'd leave that until the Olympics. But yeah, he just seems to be the guy that just hurts himself over and over, and I think definitely going into another one next week. Is that even humanly possible, Macca?
To do an Ironman the following week? Yeah, it's humanly possible. Yeah. It's just really, really uncomfortable. And it's just, again, it's all about priorities, right? So he needs to get a spot for Kona. He obviously cares about Kona. He's done this race. He's finished second, you know, today, or he lost. And now he's got to get that Kona slot and try and recover and be ready to put out a big performance in Kona, because he's had some disappointing races in Kona the last couple of years off the big racing, and it's hard to wear those disappointments after a long. You know, it's all right to have one, and then you have two, and you can deliver. Then the third one, and then the fourth one, it starts to become a bit of a weight on your back. So you either care about winning that race, or you just want to be a you're happy with a podium performance and you're going to live with that. I know most people care, and winning it is important. And he doesn't have many more chances to do it. So I hope he pulls up well and gets through this next one quite well and can be in the best shape he possibly can be for Kona, because I think it's great for the sport.
I'm hearing that despite that we went over at 7:27.46, the actual official time from Breitling or whoever it is was 7:27.53. So there's another 7 seconds added on there.
So I was the closest to the time.
No, Ali was still closer. But actually he was closer. So he's 13 seconds.
7:28.06.
You said 7:28.07. Right?
Okay, 07 and
so that's 14 seconds off the time. Alistair, 7:27.40, that's 13 seconds off the time.
Oh, so, come on.
All right, we're gonna see Lionel again in just a second, and he looks like he is having a terrible time. And fair enough to 7:42 and 25 odd seconds as he makes the last couple of turns.
It's just amazing. He's going to do it all again next week, isn't it?
yeah, it's unbelievable. And he did one 3 weeks ago. That's it's like, boom, boom, boom. Within the space of a month, he's done 3 Ironmans. It's incredible.
Yeah, look, and not only that, but he travelled to, and I've been watching his YouTube videos. I mean, he travelled, and the time difference is massive, and he couldn't sleep for a couple of nights, and this was only earlier this week. So, everything was in Jan's favour for it being here, obviously. And he's been through a lot just to even get to this point, and then travel over there, do all the things he needs to do, and then dial his nutrition in and turn around and put in a sub 7:45 effort. He's going to cross the line in just a second, and then to do the same thing next week. Yeah, that's absolutely unbelievable. Now, so if you can believe this, Pete Murray picked the actual time. Now it's moved to 7:27.53. Picked it.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Good on you. You're going to have the shirt off Macca's back, I suppose.
Hey, Pete, did you do that when he crossed the line, Pete? Or was that you're supposed to do it prior? Oh,
here he is, the great man.
7:43.30.
Oh, it looks like there's a
great
lot
race.
of emotion in that. Congratulations to Lionel. It's the first time they've seen each other since 7.5 hours ago.
That was a big race.
He's still got a smile. He's still got a smile on his face, Lionel. That is a huge race. And congratulations to both of them. That is epic work. 7:43.30. I don't know where that puts him, but it's in the top 5 fastest times ever recorded.
Far out. So that was, how far back was he? He was 16 minutes back. 43.30. 16 minutes. So he's lost 8 minutes on that run, that marathon. So he went off 7 minutes, about 7.5 minutes. So he's lost a bit in that back end of that marathon, Lionel.
All part of the big countdown to Ironman Lake Placid next weekend.
Yeah.
All part of the plan.
That was a great race. He's tough as. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he will have lost no fans. He will have lost no fans at all in that one. But look, we've sent him over the line. We're going to see him again at the Collins Cup, probably the two of them rematching against each other in Samarin in the end of August. We hope you've enjoyed a little live stream. We've brought something a little bit different to the telecast. Alistair, thanks so much for your time. Good to hear you're on the mend. Can't wait to see you back racing again, mate.
Can't wait, mate. Looking forward to it too.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Speak soon, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Ali.
Take care.
Macca, thanks to you as well. Awesome, awesome to have you on. It's now 12:52 a.m. and you and me need to go to bed.
I'm going nightclubbing. I'll catch you later.
All right, see you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. Make sure you follow on Bahrain Endurance. We'll might do a few more of these. Anything else you might like to see from us, make sure you get in touch and make sure you follow sub7sub8.com for the big race. All the big news coming up with that one in the next couple of months. We're going to have a lot of things to announce.
Start
as
following.
Well, so.
Start following.
Yep. Start following at Phoenix Life. Phoenix with a 3. See, that's got a 3. Right. Put life at the end of that. Follow
the team that owns the world record.
Well, look at that. Look
like
at
a
that.
Superman. Damn.
Hey? It does look a little tighter than I've seen it before.
This is because it's MGs. He gets the extra small.
Of course he does. All right. Bye, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. We'll see you later. Thanks, Macca.